Introduction. A contract is something that can often appear around our life even we did not realize it. It is not only a legal document. In reality, a contract can be defined as a legally binding agreement between two or more parties. Therefore, a contract can be discharged to free the parties from obligation through specific ways. Firstly, a contract can be discharged by performance. Section 30 Act 1 of CS states that the performance of the promise must be precisely and exactly as promised by parties, unless such performance has been dispensed with by any law.
Hi, I'm Joe. To further understand more about discharge by performance, I'll be bringing out a law case which is Megajuta Construction Sdn Bhd versus SPNB Aspirasi Sdn Bhd. So I'll be explaining about the case background of this case. Firstly is about parties involved, which are Megajuta, which is the plaintiff, and also the SPNB, which is the defendant. Next is about contract law, which means that Megajuta carries out construction work for SPNB under a contractual agreement. And lastly, for the case facts, Megajuta sued SPNB failed to make the payment for the work completed. Also for this dispute is about project delay, also extension of time. Next, I'll be passing to Hui to further explain about this case.
My name is Hui. I will talk about the law case summary. The issue is whether SPNB was certified in view of the payment to Megajuta, given Megajuta claimed that it had fulfilled its obligation under the construction contract. According to Malaysia Contract Act 1950, Section 30A1, it stated that the parties to a contract must either perform or offer to perform their respective promise, unless such performance is depends of will execute under the provision of the Act or any other law. Megajuta Construction argued that they have fulfilled the construction obligation and should be paid as per the contract terms, while SPNB countered that they were issued with the quality of work and delays which justify way of the payment. The court looked in favor of Megajuta, holding that it was entitled to the claim payments. Megajuta fulfilled its obligation to perform under the contract, thereby entitling it to demand SPNB corresponding performance, which was the payment.
Next, a contract can be also discharged by frustration. Based on Section 57, a contract can be discharged by frustration if the agreement involves performing an act that is legally and physically impossible to achieve. It means there's no defaulting party.
Now I will explain discharge by frustration using the case Kondo versus the Baronites 1966. In this case, the parties involved were the plaintiff, a drama contract to perform nightly with the Baronites band, and the defendant, the band itself. What happened was that the drummer fell ill, making it impossible for him to perform every night as required. The band then terminated the contract, arguing that he could no longer meet its terms. The court, however, ruled in favor of the drummer. His illness was deemed a frustrating event under the doctrine of frustration, which discharged the contract. This case demonstrates how an unforeseen event like illness can fundamentally alter a contract, allowing it to be discharged.
Now I will discuss the legal principle of frustration using the case Condor versus the Baronites 1966 as an example. The issue in this case was whether the illness of a band's drummer, Howard Condor, constituted a frustrating event under Section 57 of the Contracts Act 1950. The law states that a contract can be discharged if unforeseen events make performance impossible. The plaintiff, Howard Condor, argued that his illness made it impossible for him to fulfill his nightly performance obligations. The defendant, the Baronites, countered that he was still obligated to perform or make alternative arrangements. The court ruled in favor of the plaintiff, holding that his illness was a frustrating event. It discharged the contract, emphasizing that the performance was rendered impossible. This case highlights how frustration can relieve parties from their contractual obligations when unforeseen events occur.
My name is Zayla Amelin, and I'm here to wrap up the topic of our discussion, which is contract law, focusing on the doctrine of discharge by frustration and by performance. So let's start with discharge by performance, which is all about making sure everyone is stick to their promises in a contract. Take the cases of Mega Juta Construction versus SPNB SPRC and SEA Housing Corporation versus Lipo Cho. By this case, they remind us that if you don't meet your obligation, you may face serious consequences, which is highlighted in Section 38(1) of Malaysian Act 1950. This doctrine comes into play when unexpected events happen such as accidents, illnesses, which make it impossible to fulfill a contract. Cases like Condor vs. the Baronet and Taylor vs. Cutler show how the law steps in to help when life throws a curveball, allowing parties to be released from their obligation under the Section 57(2). In conclusion, this principle is not only to resolve disputes but also foster a fairness and adaptability in contract. That's the end of our presentation on this topic. Thank you for your attention and have a good day.